Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
Manmohan Desai's Murd, such a crass, C-grade film. But
hey, Yasser, let's get something straight. Not a word against Murd, okay? One of my favorite films.
I have watched it at least 20 times. Yeah.
Welcome, folks. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. Good film biographies are hard to come by. I guess there is a good reason behind that. Not only do they have to be written by someone passionate about films and film personalities, but the writing also needs to be of quality and accessible with its connect and reach. Oftentimes, the writing is either not up to the mark or is a bit too academic, where the writer is more in love with his or her words than the subject matter. Very few, at least in my opinion, manage to write with a flair, a wide connect, and a palpable passion for movies. On this week's episode, we're going to chat with a film biographer who in recent times has carved a niche with his writing by nicely balancing insight with style and juice. What I call juice, some might call masala or buzz. Yasser Usman has written on Rajesh Khanna, Rekha, and more recently Sanjay Dutt. His books boast not only good solid content, but also a style of narrative that is true to the world of commercial Hindi cinema, packed with emotions, lows, highs, the whole 9 yards. His books are anything but academic, and I mean that in a good way. I have all three and have enjoyed reading all of them, each in one sitting. Yasser and I chatted about writing biographies while being as impartial to the person as possible, and the debate about authorized versus non-authorized biographies. We also talked about why there is a dearth of good writing on film personalities from Hindi cinema. For example, it's beyond insane how we don't have good books on Vijay Anand, Prakash Mehra, Meena Kumari, Feroz Khan, or even Manmohan Desai in 2019. We also chatted about Rekha Bachchan, and we also chatted about Rekha and Bachchan. He had an interesting take on the present-day equation between the two. From Bachchan's longevity and cross-generational appeal to the enigmatic Devyani Chaubal. We covered a lot of ground in our chat. Here's my conversation with Yasser Usman. Hey Yasser, can you hear me fine?
Yeah, perfect, Himanshu. Wonderful connecting with you.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us today. I know it was a busy day for you, but I'm glad that you were able to make some time for us. So
anytime, Bollywood, anytime.
Thank you. So let's get right to it without wasting any more time. First of all, like I said, thanks a lot for joining us today. And I have read all three of your books and I have really enjoyed all of them. So I just wanted to say a quick note on your writing, Yasser. What I really like is that I think you really balance nicely a flair, the content, and the buzz. And that's not that easy to do. And so I always wanted to chat with you ever since I read your books. And so I'm so glad that finally we got a chance.
Thank you for that, Himanshu.
Hey, so let me start out by saying that, they say that truth is stranger than fiction. True life stories can be sometimes more complex and more beautiful than anything the mind can concoct, like fiction. Is that something that lured you into writing biographies in the first place?
Listen, the first thing was I still am crazy about Hindi films, and more than crazy, let's use the word obsessed. It was more than an obsession, and I grew up in a small town in Uttar Pradesh in India, and the only mode of entertainment, of course, was cinema. But more than that, there used to be film magazines. They're no more functional these days, but there used to be so many, numerous film magazines in English, in Hindi, in Urdu. So I kind of started reading those magazines, and then I realized that, oh, I love these magazines. I love their lives. I love their stories, their gossips, everything. So I started reading each and every magazine. You name a magazine, and I must have read that. So it began from there, and watching each and every movie, having discussions about movie stars, because my father is a very cool movie buff still. Dilip Kumar, Devanand, Raj Kapoor, and I my childhood was all about Amitabh Bachchan, and with Amitabh Bachchan came Rekha, and so on and so forth. It went on for a very long time, and then I came to Delhi for my college, and then I started reading books on cinema which were not available in my small town. When I started reading those books, those biographies on movie stars or political stars, I was disappointed, to say the least. I was disappointed because I had read something about those stars. I knew their stories through those magazines, through their interviews. Now, when I read these books, when I started reading these books, uh, I found them boring. I said, "This is not the version I had read." And how can the lives of movie stars be so boring and so? Uh, and there
Right,
was,
right.
you know, either they were writing their own life stories and very conveniently ignoring the scandalous part or the negative parts of their life. So it was like as if they were saints. I said, no. If I want to read about Sanjay Dutt, I know Sanjay Dutt is not a saint. He has done everything in his life, and everything is in public domain. I have grown up, reading about and you know following the bad boy image of Sanjay Dutt or Salman Khan. What are they trying to project now? So that was the first instance, and how I started writing. I'll tell you. I was in Bombay for some of my work, and I worked for a news channel in India. So my editor called me up and he said, "Okay, Rajesh Khanna has passed away. So I want you to make a documentary on the last 10 years of his life." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "No, he was the biggest superstar we have ever seen, India has ever witnessed. And during the last 10, 15 years of his life, no one was ready to, acknowledge him or sign him for the movies or, give him any kind of work. So I want to capture the loneliness of those 15 years of India's biggest superstar." So
Right.
that was the point. And I attended his funeral. Now Rajesh Khanna was before my childhood. I have never witnessed Rajesh Khanna's stardom. It was in the 70s. I was born in early 80s. So I covered his funeral and I met so many people, so many female fans who came to say their last, you know, just goodbye to Rajesh Khanna. Why? I asked why, and I have those recorded interviews somewhere, and everyone said, "You will not understand. आप नहीं समझेंगे." I said, "क्यों?" Because they said कि when Rajesh Khanna was the superstar and we used to be young, and it used to be a date between him and us. Many old ladies who told me similar stories talking about the stardom of Rajesh Khanna. So I became so curious that what made them come from Pune and Nasik just to say goodbye to Rajesh Khanna. I mean, they were not related to Rajesh Khanna. They were not friends with Rajesh Khanna. So this was something very strange. I have never witnessed that kind of, you know, it made me very curious. And I said, okay, let me do that. And I completed that documentary and it went on air. And then later on, I realized this is a great story and I must write it. And then if you have read the Rajesh Khanna book, there's this entire background about his childhood. So
Yes, yes.
it is such a fascinating story. I find it so fascinating. I said this is like one of his blockbuster movies, and I must tell this story, and that's how it began.
Gotcha. Right, right, right. And is this documentary that you speak of, is that on YouTube or anywhere where I can watch it? The
To be
one that you
online,
made?
Anshu, it used to be online, but there are certain this copyright issues because I had used a lot of clippings from his movies. So they have removed it from the YouTube, but it must be lying somewhere with me. So I might send you,
Oh, great. That
the
would be nice. Yeah, I would love to
must
watch it.
be because I did my, there was shoot inside his bungalow because his bungalow is no more now.
Right.
So yeah, there's some nice footage, nice interviews. Though I have used many interviews from that documentary in my book. So that's how it began, and I was never a Rajesh Khanna fan. But if you read that book, it is such a fascinating journey. Yaar. I came to
Absolutely.
respect
Yeah. Yeah.
after I had written that book. I actually started respecting Rajesh Khanna.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one heck of a story, Rajesh Khanna. I mean, we talk about stardom, the rise and fall, and the roller coaster ride, so to speak, and it can't get any better than that.
It's also a story of loneliness. I think more than anything else, it's a story of loneliness. How because it the book begins with his quote कि लोग तो कहीं से भी गिर जाते हैं but मैं तो हिमालय से गिरा था सोचो कितना दर्द
Right,
हुआ होगा.
right.
In his own inimitable style, he used to say this. I have met him once. So that meeting is not recorded in the book, but
Yes.
it's an interesting meeting. You want me to narrate that meeting?
Please, please. Yeah, I would love to hear all of it.
Yes. I was a young cub reporter, uh, uh, maybe 23, 24 years of age, and I was a trainee reporter. And when my boss asked me that this Rajesh Khanna used to live in Delhi, he was a Congress leader, and I was also in Delhi. So he was coming to inaugurate some nursing home, some small hospital in Delhi, South Delhi. So my boss asked me, "Why don't you go and take his interview?" I said, "Yeah, perfect." He said, "Are you a Rajesh Khanna fan?" I said, "No, no, I know, I hate him. I don't like Rajesh Khanna. I'm an Amitabh Bachchan fan." So he said, "No, no, just go and just take an interview." And he was a member of parliament, I think, at that time. So I went there, and true to his nature, he was the time was supposed to be 1:30 p.m. lunchtime, but he came uh, at around 6:30 in the evening. So we kept on waiting. Some of the journalists left. I kept on waiting. I was a trainee reporter, and this was a job given to me, and I had to I had to do it. So when he came, I came with my mic and camera, and I said, "Sir, I need your sound bite. I need a small interview from you." He said, "No, no, no. I have to catch a flight back to Bombay. I have to go back to Bombay, and I'm in a hurry." And he was just leaving after 5 minutes. I said, "No, sir. This is you have to." And I I became a little upset. I said, "No, I can't leave without your interview." So he got angry. He said, "What's your age?" I said, 24 years. So he said, "When you were not born, I was the superstar." He said, "जब तुम पैदा भी नहीं होते तो मैं superstar बन चुका था. Go and ask your mom." So he said that and left. So
What a
and I
fascinating man. Yeah.
and I cursed him. I said, "What nonsense! What kind of a man is he?" And at that point, oh, if you have asked me, "Are you going to write about Rajesh Khanna?" I would have killed you. So this is a strange, this is I can call it destiny that I had to write his story after he passed away. But what a story, yeah, what a story.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now, while we're on the Rajesh Khanna book, I also wanted to ask you this. The book came out in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
And do you think it would have been possible to release it while he was alive?
Yeah, I don't think there was any problem because I would have loved to interview him, though he might not have agreed to it. But
Right.
possible, of course, it was possible because my other two books are about
Sure,
personalities who are
sure.
still not dead. So he might have created because I don't know. There was some ex former secretary of Rajesh Khanna. I don't even remember his name. Some Thakkar guy, or I don't know who. He got my number from somewhere and called me up, and he was threatening me that how can you write about Rajesh Khanna? I said, no. What is your problem? What do you want to say? He said, "Ke, you cannot write about him, and मैं केस कर दूंगा तुम पे. You should have asked Rajesh Khanna." I said, "But I would have asked Rajesh Khanna, matlab, but how can I ask him?" So, so I said, "He's no more. How can I ask?" And if I said it is a non-fiction book. I'm using his interviews, his old interviews. I'm talking to filmmakers, I'm talking to his co-stars. So it's perfectly that kind of version. He said, but I will take you to court. I said, take me to court, but before that, you have to read the book. This was before the book was published. So I said, you cannot stop me from writing. Just read the book. You may or may not like it. And then he said, okay, theek hai ye wo. And then I never received another call from him. So there was no issues. I tried to get in touch with Rajesh Khanna's family, Dimple Ji and Twinkle, but I think they were not
I
ready to
see.
talk, which is I think which is okay if you think from their perspective. They don't know me. Who is Yasser Usman? What is he going to write? So I think if you think from their perspective, it is perfectly okay. And here I was writing a very, someone who's like I said, obsessed with Bollywood and who want to tell Rajesh Khanna's story in a true Bollywood style, yet retaining the facts. That was my whole idea, that it should not be a boring biography which I the kind of which I used to hate when initially I came to Delhi and started reading biographies. So my entire idea was to present their stories, because they have done formula films, they have done mainstream Bollywood films, they are superstars. The story should be told in that style.
Correct.
It
Right.
has
Makes perfect sense. Yes.
all those emotions should be a part of this story. In real life too, he was such a dramatic personality. So why not a dramatic story?
Right. 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 And what's your take on these unauthorized versus authorized biographies? Because on one hand, if it's unauthorized, you can be more honest, and it's more of a equivocal kind of a chronicling. On the other hand, authorized provides you kind of an envious access to the subject. But it can be tricky when trying to draft an honest, non-lopsided kind of an account of the person's life.
Listen, personally, I'm all for unauthorized takes. I got an offer from an actor who wanted me to be the co-author of his biography. And I said, but what's the main condition? He said, once you finish writing my story, it has to go through me and I will be authorized to remove anything. I said, it doesn't work that way for me. I
Right.
said, I said nothing against you. Why do you want me as a writer? He said, well, I like your writing. I said, but you can hire any writer. You can hire a ghost writer. You can hire someone who is ready to do that. Why do you want me? So I said, there is absolutely no point of me doing that, because I am totally against authorized biographies. Having said that, there are now people who are writing honest versions of their life. Just read Karan Johar's version of his memoirs, and I think they're pretty honest, and I love that book.
Yes,
And
I read
ditto,
that. I thought that was quite honest. Yes.
Rishi Kapoor's Kollam Kolla is very good, despite some factual problems, factual mistakes with in the book, like where he's denying his affair with Dimple Kapadia completely, which is not true, because it was
Right.
widely. But more or less, it's a very bold, it's a very honest, candid take on his life, which I like. So it doesn't mean if it's an authorized biography, it has to be. Uh, you know they must look through rose tinted glasses. It could be honest, like Karan Johar's biography is lovely, but mostly these biographies, mostly when I say mostly, I think 90% of these biographies, they try to look at their lives through rose tinted glasses, and they just want to uh, write positive things, and when looking back at their life romantically, and saying that okay, this was going in our minds, and you can read those biographies and you can you instantly you can say okay, he's not telling the truth. I don't want to, like, if you watch Sanju, there's so much of whitewashing happening, the movie Sanju. So my take was like he sent me a legal notice, Sanjay Dutt, before my book was published. He came to know about the book and he sent me a legal notice. And I spoke to his lawyer. I said, what is his problem? He said, nahi, aap kaise likh sakte hain? I said, of course I can write. You don't even know about the laws and
It's all in the
rules.
public domain, right?
It's all in the public domain. I said, up, what are you trying to hide? Sanjay Dutt's life is is everything, each and every day is in public domain. He was in jail for so many years, yeah. What are you talking about? But they were angry, but nothing happened. I said, everything is in public domain if you want to go to court. So I have to be very careful when I write these books, Himanshu. because when I finish my first draft and then second draft, I it has to go through a legal check, a very strong legal check, and my lawyer, our lawyer, my and my publisher's lawyer, go through the book for almost a month.
Right.
There are red herrings and marks that you have to remove this, you have to make it a little mild. All these things, because these we are dealing in non-fiction, so it's a crazy exercise. And if you are not obsessed with these stories, there is no way you can write them, there is no way you can publish them. So uh, it is not even a business prospect, though these books have done well. But frankly, if I tell you, these are not business prospects for me. I just love these stories. I just love talking about writing these stories. I might have written something fiction, some novel, some crime thing. I am just obsessed with these stories. Honestly, there is no other reason why I will take so much of pain, so much of legal hassles to tell these stories. Yeah, there's no other reason. I don't find any other reason. I'm just obsessed with Hindi films.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, they're such fascinating stories. I mean, it's easy to understand why you're obsessed with them.
This was the first legal notice of my life was from Sanjay Dutt, which I find so filmy. I have received a legal notice. It is from Sanjay Dutt.
Something to tell your grandkids, right?
To tell my, I have nothing to brag about, but ठीक है. And that's how it works from.
Hey, going back to that interesting point that you made about books, and I completely agree with you. I've stayed in US for more than half of my life, and I've been trying to search books, and even before the internet, to read about film personalities, directors, producers, actors, and most of it is. Mostly badly written, or like you said, it's quite boring. And I've always wondered, I mean, why is that? I mean, why aren't there more good, decent books on film personalities, especially filmmakers? I mean, I can't believe we don't have decent books on Prakash Mehra or Bridge
Or
or
Manmohan
Vijay Anand.
Desai.
Yeah, Manmohan Desai, I read that one book,
But that's a very
Enchantments of Life.
that's a very strange take on Manmohan Desai. Manmohan Desai was huge, yeah.
That's true. That's true. And he definitely deserves a much nuanced take on his life, like you said. But why do you think that is so? Like, why? I'm sure there are great writers everywhere, writing on film. Why are they not keen on writing something in the non-fiction side of it?
Something. I was very keen on writing on Rajkumar, the actor. I find him so fascinating. Rajkumar, the actor. Okay,
Yes,
Jan.
yes, absolutely. Yes,
He,
yes, yeah.
no, he's not a great actor. He was such a crazy guy. You know, who there's so many stories of his craziness. But
Right.
it happened that I spoke with the publisher. He said, no, no, yaar, it is not sellable. Like Sanjay Dutt, everyone said, yeah, it's so sellable. Rekha is so sellable. Okay, but I said, yeah, let's do something on Prakash Mehra. He said, nahi, who will read, yaar? I said, let's do something on Subhash Ghai. Arey nahi, yaar, readers are not interested. Let's write on some stars. So that's a basic problem here in India. If you talk about filmmakers, talk about Satyajit Ray, and make it an academic book or some sensational book. Talk about a director's girlfriend who could be an actress or something. Something or the other which could be sensational. So
Right.
that's a problem. If it has to be Bollywood, it has to be sensational, either sensational or academic. There's nothing. There's no middle
In
path
between, yeah.
between. So these were mainstream filmmakers. So they don't think they were artists. They had a craft. Like I believe Prakash Mehra had a particular craft, and his first,
Absolutely, yeah. One of
I
our
think
greatest filmmakers, I would say, especially when it came to commercial cinema and
Prakash Mehra
any.
as a great filmmaker. Though I think he made Amitabh Bachchan what he is, what he became later in his life. Prakash Mehra was hugely responsible for that. It was Prakash
Absolutely,
Mehra, it was his Muqaddar Ka Sikandar, which made Amitabh Bachchan the superstar. But no one is ready to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge him first and then write about him. But no one acknowledges him. They acknowledge Manmohan Desai more, but no one is ready to talk about Manmohan Desai because they think Manmohan Desai to theek hai, but mainstream masala, but what's there to write? So I think it's a
And
major problem.
do you think that's like snobbery, or it's just people are indifferent to knowing more about these past
I had
filmmakers?
to face this when I had written my second book, which was Rekha's biography. I had to face this snobbery. They said, "Arey, this is all gossip. This is all." I said, "But I'm writing about Rekha, who has lived a scandalous life. I'll not say gossipy life, but definitely scandalous. Her husband committed suicide. She had a long association with Mr. Bachchan." And there are so many stories which you can say are very interesting stories. She had lived an interesting life. What is your problem? And if film stars will not live interesting lives and scandalous lives, then who will live scandalous lives? And why do you want to write a typical vegetarian, a very toned down version of her life? There is absolutely no point. I can understand academic, but you can do an academic take on her, some of her films, Gulzar Wali films, or some other
Absolutely,
films.
yeah, yeah.
But
Utsav and a lot of good stuff she did. Yeah.
it has been a scandalous life, and you have to write it that way. That was my take. Given a chance, I would like to write the Rekha book again in that tone only. So there was a lot of snobbery I faced. "Kya ye kaise ho sakta hai? This is all gossip. This is not a real biography." But it did extremely well. It's a best-selling biography, and the largest selling unauthorized biography in India, even now, a Bollywood biography. So it did well, and then Sanjay Dutt came. Then by that time, though, I think they realized, okay, he's going to do what he wants, so he'll not listen to us snobs. So, so I'm not going to write their version. There's absolutely no point. I think I know and I love these stories more than what they know or think about these stories. So I'm perfectly okay with my versions and my style of writing. And since like you have enjoyed them, there are a few more readers who enjoy them, and I'm okay with few readers reading my books. Perfectly okay.
Right, right, right. And yeah, we got to talk about Bachchan for a few minutes. I know you're a big fan, and so am I. And his longevity of his career and his cross-generational appeal make him like one of a kind. I think it's probably the only star in the world who has lasted for such a long time. What do you think is about Bachchan's appeal that crosses generations, across globes?
I think there's this word we use now. You update your software. I think he kept
That's true. Yeah.
he was always updated. He always updated his software and hardware. I think you can put it that way. While he was doing Manmohan Desai and Prakash Mehra, he was into it. He was so convincing. It was difficult not to believe him while he was portraying those characters of a Kuli or a Mukaddar ka Sikandar or an Anthony Gonzalez. Then there was Rishikesh Mukherjee, where he played more realistic characters of Dr. Bhaskar or Sia Namak Haram or Bemisal or Jurmana. And then there was Yash Chopra later on, which was all about a romantic Amitabh Bachchan, and later on, Diwar and Trishul, which was angry young man, and later on Mukul Sanand, which was an entirely different persona of Amitabh Bachchan. So he kept on updating his directors, he kept on updating his script writers, he kept on updating his craft, and of course he's hugely talented. No one has need to talk about Amitabh Bachchan's talent, his voice, his persona, his personality. But more than anything, I think he that updated version was more or less did the job for him. During that ABCL phase, the entire Lal Badshah and Koram and all those films, Surya Vansham and all, that was the phase when he tried to redo his previous roles of angry young man. He tried to repeat himself. That didn't work. And then he again reinvented himself with Mohabbatein and later on those character roles. And then again, people loved him back. So I think that reinvention was very important, which very few actors were able to do before Amitabh Bachchan. I think there's one major example was Dilip Kumar, who was able to reinvent himself in the second innings of his life acting career. Uh, Apart from that, like if you look at a Devanand always played a Devanand even when he was 80 plus. That was the problem with Devanand. He was still playing lead roles and he was still doing what he was doing when he was 40-year-old or 35-year-old. He could
Right.
never re
And that's the reason he didn't have the same success later on.
He truly reinvented himself even with the TV show he made history, Kaun Banega Crorepati. That was another persona of Amitabh Bachchan which we were not aware of. And I think there is some aura. I have interviewed him thrice. I mean that twice, and I have noticed there is definitely an aura. I don't believe in such things, but there was definitely something when he entered in that studio when I was supposed to interview him, and I forgot all my questions I had prepared, and there was it never happened with anyone else, Himanshu. So it's very difficult. There are so many books on Amitabh Bachchan trying to explain his stardom and his the way he played his innings, but I don't think you can explain that kind of stardom. It's something else. The basic logical explanation is, yeah, of course, he kind of kept updating himself. There's no other explanation to his person.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. And like you said, I mean, it's difficult to put your finger on it. And there have been a lot of other actors, who had long careers. But Bachchan is very special in the sense, like you said, he kept on reinventing himself. And I think he's that rare breed that he's also a star and an actor. We have a lot of actors who are not stars or not stars yet. And then we have a lot of stars who are not that known for their acting craft. But Bachchan seems to be that one sole exception to it.
Yeah, definitely. Even now, yeah, just look at his Badla. I recently, last week itself, I watched this new film called Badla.
Yes.
He's
I'm yet to watch it.
fabulous in that film. So it's a frame-to-frame copy of The Invisible Guest, this
Right.
Spanish film. But it doesn't matter. Bachchan lends his own craft to the movie. Very nice. So I am, in any case, I may not be the right person to answer this question. I have been a fan. I've been a fan since childhood. And I have got a chance to interview him. So I consider myself lucky. I'm truly a fan. So that's the reason I'm not writing his biography.
About Bachchan, right. Yeah, and that's the thing with Bachchan. I mean, every time you see him on screen, he's so good that even today, I haven't seen Badla yet, but even today, I mean, you feel like his best is yet to come, which is quite a feat. Yeah, I mean, he's that kind of an actor that just keeps on pushing the boundaries.
There are so many bad films where he is superb. So many bad films.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
All those Mard, the Manmohan Desai's Mard, such a crass, C-grade film. But
hey, let's get something straight. Not a word against Mard, okay? One of my favorite films.
I have watched it at least 20 times, yeah. And I have watched Tufan and Jadugar and Ganga Jamna Saraswati also, like umpteen times.
Yes.
So I feel like we are true fans, honestly. And he was the only saving grace in those films. Yeah. What crass films? What C-grade ghatiya films?
That's true. You take away him from that film, and they're all garbage.
They're all garbage. So
True. I mean, even off late, I thought he was the best part about Ram Gopal Varma Ki Aag. I mean, his turn as Baban was just fantastic. It's so fascinating, and that's the thing with Ram Gopal Varma too, right? I mean, he has this way around Bachchan that he seems to get the best from him most of the times. Even if the films have not done well. But like you said, he tried to do Young Angry Man Bachchan in the 90s. It failed. But I think he kind of did, Ramu kind of succeeded in Sarkar to some extent doing that.
Even in Sarkar Raj, both parts.
Both parts, yes. Another Ramu Bachchan film I love a lot is Nishabd. I thought that was one of his better performances in the recent years.
That's so underrated. I think that's a brilliant.
And just one last question on Bachchan before we move ahead.
I,
You think we'll ever get to see Bachchan and Rekha in a movie again?
I don't think so. Last time they appeared together, do you remember the film?
Uh, no, yeah, by together in the same frame, you mean, right? Not in the same movie.
In the same film.
Same, uh, wow, I'm guessing it must be 80s.
No, it was like 4 years, 5 years ago, Shamitab, if you remember watching it.
Oh, so Shamitab, I don't believe I got through it. But did they share a frame in that film?
Very strange thing. It tells a lot about their association. Just listen to what I'm telling you. So you know the basic premise of Shamita. So
Yes, yes.
the lead actor is Dhanush, who cannot speak. So there is some logic they are giving that there's a chip which is fitted in his throat, and then his Amitabh Bachchan becomes his voice. Okay,
Right.
and somehow uh, he cannot speak medical. There's some medical condition he cannot speak. So Amitabh Bachchan becomes his voice. So even when he's acting, Amitabh Bachchan is looking at him through a camera and just whatever he's blabbering, dubs his dialogues and whatever. So Amitabh Bachchan becomes his voice. Okay. So this is the premise of Shamitab. So finally, and he's an actor. Dhanush is playing an actor in the movie Shamitab. So in the movie, in the story, Dhanush is getting a Best Actor award. Now, guess who is coming to give him the Best Actor award? Okay, Rekha ji comes and gives him the award, whatever Filmfare award, whatever that award is, and tells him, "क्या आवाज है आपकी? What a voice you've got! What a ऐसी आवाज तो दुनिया में किसी के पास नहीं होती. What a wonderful voice!" And cut to Amitabh Bachchan shot. Okay, and Amitabh Bachchan is smiling. ठीक है. So they're not in the same. And now no one talks about this fact that Shamitab was produced by ABCL, which is Amitabh Bachchan's company. So Amitabh Bachchan
Company,
was the
sure.
producer of Amitabh. Rekha was in the movie praising Amitabh Bachchan's voice. This was 5 years ago. Okay, so
Great point. Great point.
it's no one talks about it, but this actually happened. That if there was some problem, say a Jaya Bachchan, or that Amitabh will never work with Rekha or whatever, it was ABCL, it was Amitabh Bachchan's production. She is not with, she's with some other actor, which is a very intelligent thing the director did, and she's praising Amitabh Bachchan's voice. So
Right.
so like I asked, when was the last time? This is recent, yeah. This is like this decade, 5 years ago. Must be what, 2015.
Right.
So I think there was an association. If you read my Rekha book, there are so many people saying that on record. So, and these are all recorded interviews. Like, first of all, the Yash Chopra said in his very famous interview, I met Muzaffar Ali Sahab, who directed Umrao Jan. And I
Right.
asked him, yeah, he used to come and Rekha used to talk about him as if she's talking about her husband. And then finally he said, like I've used that line, that statement in my chapter in my book. So he said Amitabh Bachchan should have married Rekha. So I asked Muzaffar Ali, this is a recorded interview. I'm recording you and I'm going to use it. He said, why use it? How does it matter? It happened. He used to come over and he used to, attend our shootings, wait for Rekha and everything. These kind of things happen. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, they, for them, it's all bridge. I mean, it's all water under the bridge. I think it's the media, that kind of will. And that's the thing with Bachchan too, right? I mean, off late and maybe, I mean, not even just off late, but for quite a few years, he has taken this kind of a diplomatic stand whenever it comes to media and whenever they ask him for some statements on what's going on in the country or anything. And a lot of the younger generation, I think, kind of misunderstands that, and they don't really understand why he's being so neutral and so diplomatic. But there's a long history about Bachchan with the media, and what happened with him with the media boycott for a few years and all that. And I don't think some of the younger folks understand that.
Yeah, and you know what? I still remember while I was writing my Rekha book, there was a time when I called up my editor and told him, "Okay, can we remove the entire Amitabh Bachchan angle altogether from Rekha's story. And he said, "Are you sure about it?" I said, "Yeah, because everyone is after us that you're going to write gossip and you're going to write only about Amitabh Bachchan and Rekha." And then he said, "Just think about it." And while I started thinking about it, I realized that you know Rekha herself has spoken so much about him, his effect on her life, his effect on his influence on her career. So I think Amitabh Bachchan's story is by default a part of Rekha's life. So finally, we decided, yeah, there is absolutely no point of removing that story or ignoring that part of her life, and she herself is so, uh, you know, so fascinated by the entire Amitabh Bachchan persona in her life, that how he changed her personally as well as professionally. So finally, we decided, no, we will write about this aspect of her life. So ठीक है, whatever anyone thinks that it's all gossip, I don't care. It is a part, it is very much a part of their lives, this story, and it needs to come out.
Right, right. I mean, any story, about Rekha without Bachchan is, same as telling Bachchan's story without covering Rekha. I mean, it would be just untrue and incomplete.
And there is always a
Yeah.
personal reason why I decide to write. Like I'll tell you, you have some time.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I like I told you, my childhood was all about discussing Bollywood in my home and with my mom and dad. And one fine day, I was in school and I came back one afternoon, and normally my mother, while giving me lunch, she told me Rekha has killed her husband. So that was in 1990. And I said, "Acha, okay, must have killed." And then that kind of remained in my mind for years. And after, when I was doing my Rajesh Khanna book, I met a police officer, and I saw a picture of Rekha and her ex former husband in his house. So so I asked him, okay, this is to Mukesh Agrawal who committed, who Rekha killed him, na? So he laughed. He said, no, no, Mukesh was a close friend, and 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 no, she never killed him. He committed suicide, and he told me the entire story. So that's how, if you read my Rekha book, that's how it begins, from Mukesh's
Yes,
how
yes,
they
I remember. Yes.
how. So this the main narrative while when that happened, and the real story was quite different. She may not tell her own story. I don't believe she's ever going to tell her version of the story, but I think there should be someone to tell. I think I took that chance, and more or less have told her story. And I'm okay if anyone or she decides herself to tell her own story. I would be, looking forward to many more books about her life.
Yes, 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 and I think you did a great job. I think that's one thing about your books. I think you cover a lot of ground in all of those three. I mean, Sanjay Dutt's life, perhaps is Sanjay Dutt is not that old, so compared to the other two, but I think your books did a great job of covering pretty much everything and kind of
Both
balancing that.
three books. In India, people don't read that much, so there are very few and who are as crazy about Bollywood as I am. So I feel I'm feeling wonderful.
That's great. Now, let me ask you this, Yasser. Outside of Bachchan, two personalities from the film world whose biographies you would love to read, not write, but would love to read.
Honest biographies, definitely Dilip Kumar. Uh, uh, who else? Uh, Amitabh Bachchan, you said, apart from Amitabh Bachchan?
Apart from Bachchan, yes.
Acha, Dilip Kumar, definitely, I think is the greatest actor we have ever seen. Who else? Yeah, there was uh, this actress, no? Madhubala, of course, yeah. A good
Madhubala.
biography, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think Guru Dutt, a good biography of Guru.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, all fascinating people. Personally, I would love to, outside Bachchan, again, this is, I mean, Bachchan, I
Single,
think, would top everybody's list. But outside Bachchan, I would love to read about Meena Kumari, and I would love to read about Shatrughan Sinha, which actually there is a book out there. I know I picked it
but
up. I thought that there was much that could have been done, but
just one person's opinion.
But if I get a chance, I would love to retell the story of Meena Kumari for sure.
Great, great. That would be nice. I would look forward to it.
I'm not researched about it, but I think it'll take some time. But definitely, it's on the cards.
Oh, nice. Nice to know that. And are you working on Rajkumar's biography currently as well?
I'm not. I just find him so fascinating, and it may not be easy to write about him because there's absolutely nothing to write craft-wise or acting-wise. But he was so popular among masses. He was
Yes,
just a
yes.
character, and he was. There are so many stories about his that how crazy he was. So I just want to explore that aspect of it. And he was a very intelligent guy, well-educated, intelligent guy. There's so many stories of his intelligence, and finally, when he passed away, he said, "No, I do not want anyone except my family." Otherwise, normally film stars or political stars want a huge funeral and everything. He said, "No, I just want like four people from my family whenever I die." So, which was something he said, Kenny, everything is so lame in this world, and so no one, he was a very he philosophized his death and everything before he passed away. So I find that fascinating. So at some stage, yes, but I was never a Rajkumar fan. Also, I just, like I said, I just find their stories interesting. So yes, but
Right, right.
Meena Kumari for sure. That's one character which needs a big book, in detail.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And um, going back to Rajkumar, yeah, I saw a few of his interview clips, and like you said, it definitely comes across that he was a pretty smart person. He was articulate, and he could certainly look beyond just the stardom and the acting life. That definitely comes across through his interviews. And obviously, I mean, he was a man of great style, so we all know that. So that's another one, I guess, would be quite interesting.
And I would love to read someone write a honest take on Dilip Kumar, a big book, because his autobiography, I don't think is a very honest book, honestly. So I don't know if you have read that book, but
No,
personally,
I
I
haven't.
think so. I that Substance and the Shadow, I think that's the name of the book. But I think it could have been better, and there's so many stories missing which I expected. So someone should write those stories, and he is the biggest actor I think in India has ever produced. I think Dilip Kumar is the biggest, followed by Amitabh Bachchan, of course. But yeah, Dilip Kumar was Amitabh Bachchan follows Dilip Kumar. That says it all.
Right, right. And here is another person that I really want to read about all I can get my hands on. And I remember you had tweeted about this once, or you were saying somebody was writing a book about her. And I'm talking about Devyani Chaubal.
Yeah, there is a strange girl who was researched. You must speak with her. Her name is Suparna Sharma. She's a film critic for Asian Age and Deccan
Oh, I
Herald.
would love to. Could you connect me with her sometime?
She is on Twitter. You can use my reference. She's on Twitter, and
Okay. So
she
she's presently researching, you said?
she has completed her research. She is the resident editor of this newspaper called Asian Age. So I don't think she has much time to write because she's always in office. But she is a brilliant writer. I think if you ask me personally, my favorite film critic in India and the best one, I think it is Suparna Sharma. You must read her reviews. Excellent, like out of this world. So most fascinating film review she is, and she's a great writer. And I think at some stage she's going to write about it. You must interview her. She has a lot of material on Devyani.
Oh, I would love to. I'll definitely try to cold contact her on Twitter, and I'll mention your name because that again, Devani Chaubal, I think she kind of perfectly encapsulates a certain era, especially the Bollywood. And I'm fascinated by that. I'm just fascinated by how Mumbai and Bollywood was in the late 70s, early 80s. And I'm just surprised that nobody has ever written about it or made a series on it or a show on it. And, it's quite difficult to do. I can
No,
imagine
it's not
that.
true, Himanshu. I think there's a lot of snobbery attached to it. Okay, why should they
Is
write
it? Do
about
you think that's the reason?
this? So that's a problem. And she was such a game changer that you must write about it.
I will. I will. I'll definitely try to seek out and speak with Suparna Sharma. Definitely.
Try to get in touch with her.
Yes. 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 Lastly, Yasser, any advice for young film biographers or young biographers just in general? What is it about biographies that you should strive for, or what
I
makes?
I'll not
A,
say an objective or unbiased version. That would be too much to ask. I think every piece of writing is biased or not objective. Perfectly okay with that. But I think when you write a biography, it's a non-fiction exercise. I think you cannot play with facts. Facts are sacrosanct, and you must focus hard on research, and they should not come across as PR pieces. That's my biggest grudge with most of the biography, that they shouldn't come across as PR pieces. Do not whitewash. Absolutely no need. We know that Sanjay Dutt went to jail. We still love him, na? Because he was the bad boy. Yaar. Doesn't matter if he went to jail. We still love him as our own Munna Bhai. It doesn't matter. Do not try to whitewash. That is my only advice. Just don't whitewash. Just don't do a PR pitch or a PR job. Just write a story. These things make the story better. You know, if you try to act smart and just to make them happy or they make their family happy, it's not going to work. The book is not going to work at all. People are very smart, readers are extremely smart, they will look through it.
right, right. Just be true to the life story, right? Because,
For
like you
sure.
said, that's what makes the person. I mean, that's the whole truth.
So you can
And
support your story with facts.
right, right. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I another thing that's puzzling is that, people accept the star as they are. I mean, we watch their movies, we support them and everything, but when you're trying to portray their life on screen or something, you don't want to watch the part that paints a little gray. So it's kind of puzzling as to why that is true. I mean, with Sanju, I think, I mean, it's fairly obvious. I mean, he was so close with the filmmakers and people who have made that movie. So I can understand that. But in other instances too, I mean, we often see this happening. I don't know why that happens.
I mean, my point is, even if they had shown something negative, something gray, and not trying to whitewash it or doing a PR pitch, it would still have worked. It would have been a better story. I mean, it would have been a better story.
Right, right. There was nothing of that sort at all. That's your point, right? I mean, it's completely whitewashed. Hey, listen, Yasser, thanks a lot for chatting with us. That was great. I hope I didn't keep you too long into the night.
Apologies again for delaying this, but
No worries at all.
this
Thank you very much, Yasser.
That was my chat with Yasser Usman. Someday, I would love to do an entire episode with him on Rekha and Bachchan, the greatest on-screen pair from Hindi cinema, in my opinion. There's so much to talk about these two beyond the dimension of a whispering gallery, and I think Yasser might be one of the best people around to have that conversation with. A quick note on a small scheduling change. On episode 2, I had mentioned that we'll be carrying our conversation with Apurva Asrani on the next episode. Due to a scheduling change, we'll be bringing you that conversation next week. In case you're wondering if you missed an episode, you did not. Do tune in next week for that conversation. Our podcast is now widely available on all major platforms. You can get it on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Please do drop your review on iTunes when you get a chance. Also, please do subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to them. You can follow me on Twitter at loveofcinemasf8. That's our episode, folks. See you next week. This is Himanshu, and thanks again for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.